A thread by Carlos Osuida. A long time coming. Space Force. Strange timing tweets at Carlos. Hey, Carlos, I'd love to know what your thoughts are on the new Space Force if you have anything to share. I'm always learning so much from you and your knowledge of tactics and technology. Warmest regards and prayers being sent to you. But first, President Trump said today that we all need to vote in person. I'll show you him saying that, and then I'll get to Space Force. Link in the description to the YouTube video. The link is in the description of this video, and this link will take you straight to the timestamp that shows Trump saying, vote in person. We did it in World War I. We did it in World War II. Today, Orange County opened a used car lot for early in-person voting. Vote in person, or vote by absentee ballot delivered in person to the county registrar. Now, United States Space Force. Idiots laugh at it. Guess what they don't know? It was created on September 1st, 1982. Air Force Space Command, AFSPC. U.S. Space Force became an independent branch of service on December 20th, 2019. The U.S. Air Force, USAF, became an independent branch of service on September 18th, 1947. Before that, it was the U.S. Army Air Forces, USAAF. The laughing idiots don't see something that's screaming, hello, right into their faces. Why do parts of service branches become independent service branches? Because of massively expanded capabilities beyond the knowledge and training bases of the original service heads. U.S. Space Force has two functions. One, provide freedom of operation for the United States in, from, and to space. And two, provide prompt and sustained space operations. To fulfill these two functions, the U.S. Space Force has three duties. One, protect the interests of the United States in space. Two, deter aggression in, from, and to space. Three, conduct space operations. U.S. Space Force released its doctrine on August 10th, 2020. One, preserve freedom of action. Two, enable joint lethality and effectiveness. Three, provide independent options. United States Space Force has 5 core competencies. 1, space security. 2, combat power projection. 3, space mobility and logistics. 4, information mobility. 5, space domain awareness. All of this is from spaceforce.mil. What U.S. Space Force does is protect the space domain for all American civil and military usage, protect all American civil and military communication systems that encroach into space, and monitor all aggressor movements that use the space domain. USSF, Space Force, is also capable of conducting independent combat operations. Defensive operations protect our capabilities from attack. Offensive operations reduce the effectiveness and lethality of adversary forces across all domains. And there you have it. 3 simple words: across all domains. And that, my friends, means rods from God and other forms of kinetic bombardment. Hypersonic munitions that are essentially guided meteorites. Sci-fi writer and space weapons technologist Jerry Pournelle conceived of rods from God in 1949. Here's a good article. InsideHook.com, Rods from God, a space weapon to make Thor jealous. People are blind. Rods from God have been used in combat. Show you that this without question is kinetic bombardment. We don't need sound. Just look at it. Watch this. All right. Note the dirt plume is higher than the fireball. The way we know that the debris tower is that the debris towers rose faster than the fireball. This is an underground weapon depot being destroyed with conventional munitions. See? Fireball. All the sparkles are warheads exploding. Fireball only, no debris towers. Debris towers rising faster than a fireball is the signature of kinetic bombardment. No warhead on the munition. Pure kinetic energy transfer. Note the sparkles at Faj Atan, the kinetic bombardment. The reason that there are far fewer is that the heat incinerated the warheads before they could even explode. Now, at least 40 cameras were pre-positioned to catch this explosion. That means a warning was given. There's no other reason for so many cameras to be aimed at an empty hillside prior to the first combat usage of rods from God. The Faj Atan explosion was on April 20th, 2015, Hitler's birthday. That was an Iranian weapon depot. This was a Gulf Arab gift to Israel for creating the designs that the Gulf Cooperation Council funded. The Gulf Arabs are now as technologically advanced as Israel. And don't warn me about anything. The Israelis have personnel stationed in Arab military headquarters monitoring things. And there's no doubt that the transparency is one-sided. The Israelis are not required to put Gulf Arabs in their headquarters. The Omani foreign minister had said publicly that it's the responsibility of Arab countries to prove themselves trustworthy to Israel, not the other way round. In the next video, air-ground control, as heard in another video, is a non-native speaker of English. We have an Arab speaking English to control, and control replying in English. On September 1st, 2015, the only people fighting in Yemen officially were Arabs. The Arab voice speaks to air-ground control in English and to Arab superiors in Arabic and says, copy, control. Control says, copy, copy. The Arab says, there is no ammunition. Control, no ammunition, no other balls, right, Arab? I still have missiles. I'm told that the Arab superiors tell the Arab voice to fire the missiles because they won't be wasted. Since the Arab voice is repeating himself in both Arabic and English, and since his superiors give him the orders, air-ground control is there in a technical capacity. My guess is he's an Israeli, but he wasn't engaging in combat. We don't know what Israeli air-ground control capabilities are. But the reason the Gulf Arabs and others are normalizing relations with Israel is that they trust the Israelis. And we benefit from all of this. People ask what we get out of our alliances with Israel. Tulsi Gabbard said that the Saudis aren't our real allies. She said we need to cut relations with Saudi Arabia and ally with Bashar al-Assad. You know why we never confronted Iran and Syria before? Because the State Department said we needed them for the Middle East peace process. Both Republican and Democratic presidents followed that advice. Guess who paid for that folly with their lives and limbs? Syria and Iran are state sponsors of terrorism. Tulsi Gabbard, who claims to care about her, quote, fellow troops, says we should ally with the guy who had al-Qaeda training camps in his country to go into Iraq and kill Americans. Gabbard said Trump was leading us to war with Iran. She's a de facto agent of Iran, TheHill.com. Gabbard blasts Iran strike. Trump's actions are an act of war. How anyone could support her is beyond me. It makes me puke that she calls herself a combat veteran. She was given the Combat Medic Badge as a participation award. Quote, on or after September 18th, 2001, medical personnel assigned or attached to or under operational control of any ground combat arms units to include members assigned or attached to combat aviation units of brigade or smaller size who satisfactorily perform medical duties while the unit is engaged in active ground combat, provided they are personally present and under fire. From hrc.army.mil. She was a headquarters clerk in C Company, 29th Brigade Support Battalion, Hawaii Army National Guard. Her company went with the 29th Infantry Brigade combat team to Iraq in 2004. She was stationed at the gigantic Anaconda Logistical Support Area. From 2003, insurgents fired several mortar rounds and rockets per day. They usually hit the empty space between the runways. I can't find any evidence of Gabbard's unit suffering any casualties during her time in Iraq, but I could be wrong. When she was running for president, her people planted stories of her legendary courage going outside the wire on patrol. She was a clerk. The point is, we dodged a bullet. She would have been yet another Iranian agent in Washington. I told everyone a long time ago that we would never go to war against Iran. And Qasem Soleimani was one of the most savage terrorists of all time. At 50, everyone has the face he deserves. George Orwell. He looked like a demon because he was a demon. Americans enabled Iran from 1979 onward. Trump backed out of the fray and let the region take care of the problem. We helped when asked. Our reward was U.S. Space Force. Among too many other things to count, the Saudis aren't our allies. They're only the greatest allies we've ever had. Israel is a fine ally, but every now and then, leftists take over. The Saudis are totally consistent, and now they're making mind-boggling changes. From therealkashmir.com, Saudi press calls for Islamic reform and amendments in Quran. The Sunni Muslim Vatican is Al-Azhar University in Cairo. Grand Imam Ahmed El-Tayeb had a meeting in Saudi Arabia with leaders of all the non-Abrahamic religions. This is technically prohibited in Islam. He did it anyway. Do you know what the best thing we can do is? Note it and not talk about it with Muslims. This is the most precarious moment in the history of Islam. They're going for it. Everything you thought you knew about Islam was wrong. Watch it and don't stick in your oar. You do not always have to say what you're thinking. Let them work it out at their speed, in their way. We've been messing up the Middle East for centuries. It's a new era, and the U.S. Space Force, thank Trump and Saudi Arabia.